People often say, out of sight, out of mind. In a glittering skyscraper in downtown Seattle, where executives walk in suits worth a small fortune, I was a ghost. I am David. My job title, junior developer. My actual role, the gatekeeper. The only person stopping an ancient database named Atlas from swallowing this entire company whole. Global Tech was about to merge. $500 million were on the negotiation table, and they thought that success came from handshakes and wine parties. They were wrong. That success relied on me waking up every night at 3 a.m. to manually type a 64-character code to prevent a server memory overflow, a job I had done for the past 1,825 days. No one knew, no one cared. Until today. I adjusted my tie knot. It was a bit tight. I hadn't bought a new tie in 5 years. In my hand was a thick, pale blue folder. Inside was proof of my value, system uptime charts, a list of critical errors I had stopped, and most importantly, a request for a raise. I wasn't greedy. I just wanted a fair wage. Inflation had risen 15% since I joined, but my salary had remained stagnant. I knocked on the door. "Come in," a sharp female voice rang out. That was Karen, the new HR director. She had transferred here 2 months ago from a fashion corporation. She had the appearance of a great white shark, a perfect smile, but soulless eyes. Her office reeked of expensive perfume, overpowering even the smell of the air conditioning. "David, is it?" Karen didn't look up from her iPad. "Sit down. I have exactly 5 minutes before a call with the board." I sat on the edge of the chair, trying not to look nervous. "Thank you, Karen. I came to discuss my annual salary adjustment, as I emailed last week." "Ah, right." Karen put down the iPad, took off her horn-rimmed glasses, and looked at me. A scrutinizing look from head to toe. "You're the guy from IT, the boy who fixes printers." I swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. "Actually, I am a back-end systems engineer. I manage the Atlas database and—" Karen waved her hand dismissively, the gold bracelets on her wrist jingling. "Those terms don't matter. I've looked at your file. You are still junior staff in the system, correct?" "That's why I'm here," I said, my voice a bit firmer. "I've worked here for 5 years. My current workload is equivalent to a senior lead. I am fully responsible for data stability ahead of the merger. I am requesting a 20% raise to match the market rate." Karen laughed, a dry, short laugh like a silenced gunshot. She picked up my folder, flipped through a few pages without reading the content, and then tossed it onto the desk. 20%? Are you kidding me, David? She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Do you think this company is a charity? You are just an IT employee. There are thousands of fresh graduates out there ready to do your job for half the price. Atlas? It's just an aging server we're going to scrap after the merger." "You don't understand," I tried to explain, feeling heat rise to my face. "Atlas isn't just a server, it's the core. It holds the entire transaction history of the last 20 years, and its source code is very old, very complex. Without someone who understands it, enough." Karen slammed her hand on the table. "I don't have time for your technical threats. Company policy is clear. We don't negotiate with junior staff. You have 2 choices. 1, go back to work with your current salary and be grateful you have a job. 2, she pointed to the door. Get out. If you don't like it, you can quit. Right now." The air in the room seemed to freeze. I looked into Karen's eyes. I saw no respect, no human empathy. I only saw the arrogance of power. She thought I was a replaceable screw. She thought junior meant useless. A shift happened inside me. The anxiety disappeared, replaced by a strange serenity. I realized I had held the key for so long that I forgot I also had the right to throw it away. "Are you sure, Karen?" I asked, my voice lowering. "You want me to get out right now?" "Immediately. Don't make me call security." I stood up, straightened my jacket. Fair enough. I choose option 2. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. Back at my desk, I found Mike, the only colleague who understood me, eating a sandwich. "How'd it go, buddy? Money for beer?" Mike asked, chewing. "No, Mike," I smiled, pulling a cardboard box from under the desk. "I quit." Mike choked. He coughed loudly, hastily drinking water. "What? Are you crazy? The big data audit is next week. Atlas without you is a ticking bomb." "I know," I replied, my hands swiftly removing personal photos from the cubicle wall. "But Karen said that the company doesn't negotiate with junior staff. She told me to get out. I'm just following orders." Mike looked at me with horror mixed with admiration. "You are really going to do it?" I sat down at the computer one last time. The black screen with familiar green code. This was my kingdom. I opened the task manager. I found the processes named davidautofixscript.exe. These were scripts I wrote in my free time, my own intellectual property, to automatically patch system holes whenever memory overflowed. The company didn't pay for these scripts. They paid for the 8 hours I sat here. Right-click, delete. Empty recycle bin. I also wiped the troubleshooting tips documentation I had drafted on my personal drive. I formatted the hard drive back to the company's factory reset state. The Atlas system was now naked. It was like a critically ill patient whose ventilator had just been unplugged. It was still alive, but the countdown had begun. "Good luck, Mike." I patted my bewildered friend on the shoulder. "Don't touch the server. It's not your job." I hugged the cardboard box and walked to the elevator. 3 p.m. Beautiful sunshine. I pulled out my phone, turned it off, and removed the SIM card. I tossed the SIM card into a public trash can on the street. A sense of relief so profound I wanted to scream. I got in my car, started the engine, and headed straight north where there were snow-capped mountains and lakes with no Wi-Fi. I'll tell you what happened at the company through Mike's retelling later. It was a horror movie, in the literal sense. The first day I was gone, Karen sent a company-wide email announcing she had purged a culturally unfit employee and promised to bring in a more dynamic, cheaper IT team. She hired an outsourcing firm called Tech Solutions. The name itself sounded cheap. On the second day, the system started showing strange signs. Outbound orders were delayed by 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. Warehouse staff complained that barcode scanners were giving timeout errors. On the third day, the day of reckoning. It was Friday morning, 10 a.m. The merger audit team was sitting in the glass conference room with CEO Roberts. They wanted a live demo of the order processing workflow. CEO Roberts typed the command on the big screen. "And as you can see, our Atlas system processes 10,000 orders per second." He pressed enter. The screen spun. The loading icon spun around and around. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. A bright red error message appeared in the middle of the big screen like a slap in the CEO's face. Fatal error, memory overflow, database lockdown initiated. At the same time, down in the factory, alarms blared. The production line stopped abruptly because it received no data. Thousands of workers stood idle. In the conference room, the air was colder than ice. CEO Roberts went pale. "What is this? Call IT now." Karen's new IT team, 3 young guys in superhero t-shirts, rushed into the server room. They looked at the black screen filled with ancient C++ code written in 1998. They panicked. "What the hell is this?" one guy exclaimed. "What is this code? No comments, no documentation. Who built this thing?" They tried to reboot the server. The biggest mistake. Atlas isn't Windows. You can't just turn it off and on. Atlas needs to be coaxed. It needs to be shut down in sequence ACB, then turned back on BAC. When they turned it back on in the wrong sequence, the system activated its self-protection mode. It encrypted all customer data to prevent intrusion. Boom. 10 years of customer data turned into meaningless garbage characters. Karen ran down to the IT room, her high heels clicking on the floor. "Fix it! What are you people doing?" "We can't," the IT team leader shouted. "The system is locked. We need the root admin password. Who managed this before?" All eyes turned to Mike, who was sitting silently in the corner. Mike slowly took off his headphones. "It was David, the guy you just fired on Tuesday." Meanwhile, I was sitting on a folding chair by a lake, grilling a fish I had just caught. No phone ringing, no email sounds, just the wind whistling through the pines. I had never felt so alive. I wondered, had they realized it yet? Back at the office, CEO Roberts was screaming in Karen's office. "You told me you fired a redundant junior staff member." Roberts threw my personnel file onto the desk. "This person wrote 80% of our operating source code. Do you have a brain, Karen?" Karen sobbed, her makeup running. I thought he was just a repairman. I called him, but I can't reach him." "Keep calling. Call until he picks up. If this system isn't restored today, the merger is off. And I swear, you won't just be fired. I will sue you for negligence." Over the next 48 hours, Karen, her assistant, and even the CEO's private secretary took turns calling my old number. They called my mother. They messaged my friends on Facebook. The messages went from arrogant, "David, get back to work now," to desperate, "David, we'll double your salary, please." And finally to pathetic begging, "David, save us." Monday morning, exactly a week after I quit, I returned to the city. I turned my phone on. The phone vibrated in my hand for 20 minutes as messages flooded in. I skimmed through the voicemails. "David, it's Karen. I'm sorry. Please call back." "David, this is Roberts. I need you." "David, the company is losing $100,000 an hour. Name your price." I smiled. Finally, they were speaking the language I wanted to hear. Name your price. I didn't rush to the company. I went home, showered, and put on my best suit, the one I intended to wear for my wedding if I had a girlfriend. I drafted a consulting agreement. I drove to the company at 11 a.m. When I walked into the lobby, the receptionist, who usually never greeted me, now looked at me like the second coming of Jesus. "Mr. David, thank God you're here. Everyone is waiting for you in the VIP conference room." I walked into the room. The smell of fear was thick in the air. CEO Roberts looked 10 years older after 1 week. Karen sat in the corner, eyes puffy, daring not to look me in the eye. "David," Roberts stood up, his voice hoarse. "Thank you for coming. We were wrong." I didn't sit down. I stood at the head of the table, setting my leather briefcase down. "Hello, Mr. Roberts." "Hello, Miss Karen," I said, my voice cold and professional. "I heard you have some technical difficulties." "Difficulties? It's a disaster!" Roberts exclaimed. "The system is dead. Data is locked. Customers are suing us." I replied briefly. "I know exactly where the problem lies, and I can get the system back online in less than 30 minutes. Robert's eyes lit up. "Great! Then please." But I raised my hand to stop him. "I am no longer a global tech employee. I was fired by your HR director for being junior staff. Currently, I am an independent consultant." I pulled the contract from my briefcase, sliding it across the polished wooden table toward the CEO. "These are my terms." He picked it up and read. His eyes widened. "Consulting fee, $500 an hour? Minimum commitment of 40 hours? Emergency rush fee of $20,000 paid immediately? Karen jumped up as if electrocuted. What? You're crazy. Your old salary was only $30 an hour. Are you blackmailing the company? I turned to look at Karen. This time, I was no longer the shy guy from last week. Miss Karen, I said slowly, each word nailing into the air. Last week, you said my value wasn't worth negotiating. You were right. The value of a cheap employee is low. But the value of the only person holding the key to save a company on the brink of a $500 million bankruptcy is entirely different. I pointed to the big screen displaying the fatal error. You are losing $100,000 an hour. My $20,000 fee is just 12 minutes of your revenue. So, do you find it expensive or cheap? Karen was choked up. She stammered but couldn't speak. I turned back to CEO Roberts. You have 5 minutes to decide. Either sign here and transfer the money immediately, or I walk out that door, and this time, I won't come back. CEO Roberts didn't hesitate a second. He pulled out his gold Mont Blanc pen. I'll sign. Finance, transfer the money immediately. He signed the paper. Then he looked up at me, his gaze shifting to Karen. David, I accept all your terms, but I want to know, why did it go this far? Because of disrespect, sir. Machines are like humans. If you don't take care of them, don't respect the person guarding them, they will betray you. Roberts nodded. He turned to Karen, his voice as cold as ice. Karen, pack your things. You're fired. No severance package. Security will escort you out in 10 minutes. Karen's crying rang out, but no one cared. She was dragged out of the conference room, passing by me. I looked at her, nodding slightly. Goodbye, Karen. Get out. I received the notification that the money had hit my account, $40,000, including the advance and rush fee. I went down to the server room. I sat in my old chair. Mike stood by, grinning. I opened the command line. I entered the key sequence only I knew. Sudo unlock Atlas key 1998. Then I restarted the servers in the correct sequence. Off A, wait 30 seconds, on B, on A. The black screen flickered. Green lines of code started cascading down the screen like the Matrix. System check, OK. Database, restored. Status, online. The whole office erupted in cheers. The phones in sales started ringing again. The factory started moving. The beast Atlas had awakened and was docile again. I worked there for another 3 days to write detailed documentation. Of course, still billing $500 an hour. Then I said goodbye to Mike and left for good. With the money earned and the reputation as the savior of global tech, I started my own firm specializing in data crisis management. Now I sit on the other side of the negotiation table. And whenever someone tells me we don't negotiate with staff, I just smile and hand them my business card. The lesson: never underestimate the quiet ones who keep your world running, because when they stop working, your world stops turning.